How is it going, everyone? We are less than 24 hours away from a moment that PlayStation fans have been waiting for probably a year now. The big event where a ton of games are gonna be showcased. Yes, the PlayStation Showcase is tomorrow, and I want to go over some final rumors and expectations that I have for the event. Some of the other news might not even be relevant to the PlayStation Showcase itself, so let's talk all about it. So let's get things started with a game that I was very much expecting to be at the showcase. Maybe we gotta temper our expectations a little bit and it's not gonna appear at the showcase, and that is Ghost of Tsushima 2. As spotted by Push Square, insider Jeff Grubb stated as much on his recent Game Mess stream. Grubb, who accurately reported on the week the showcase would debut during, said it doesn't sound like Ghost of Tsushima 2 would be at the showcase. Now, the follow-up to Ghost of Tsushima probably won't be called Ghost of Tsushima 2, but I don't think that's a reason to think like, oh, Ghost of Tsushima won't be there, but you know what will be the sequel? Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. I just don't think the follow-up is gonna be there. Grubb is pretty reputable. I just thought, you know, from the standpoint of Ghost of Tsushima's been out for 3 years now, at this point you would expect that a sizable amount of progress has been made towards the game, but maybe it's also the standpoint that Ghost of Tsushima 2 won't be released until 2025. You know, 2024, you do have Rise of the Ronin, which kind of does fit that style of game as well. It's not necessarily entirely the same, but Rise of the Ronin does have that thematic going on for it, and maybe dropping Ghost of Tsushima 2 on the same year, you don't really need to do that, but Rise of the Ronin, that is scheduled for 2024, and that's a game I do expect to see tomorrow. But Ghost of Tsushima 2 was a game I was really excited to see. I still feel like we're gonna get the reveal of Ghost of Tsushima getting ported to PC. I don't know how many of you guys are gonna be interested in that, but I foresee that doing very well as a part of the event as well. Next up, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater Remake. It looks like that is a slam dunk to be at the showcase. I think this is incredibly exciting. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but Metal Gear Solid is a franchise that you can do so much more with, and even if it's like you don't want to make an MGS6, I can understand not wanting to do that. Maybe not now, and maybe not with the involvement of Kojima, but you've got so many Metal Gear games that aren't being properly preserved, and you also look at the current climate of gaming. Look at how the Dead Space remake was received. Look at how the Resident Evil 4 remake was received. Look at how the FF7 remake has been doing. These remakes, it's gonna be something that a lot of these developers and publishers are gonna look at and realize that there's a lot of value in going back to the well, looking at some of the games that were received incredibly well, and rebuild them from the ground up. I'm not saying rebuild games that released in 2015 or 2016, but when you're talking about Metal Gear Solid 3, that's a game that was released, I believe, in the mid-2000s. I'll get that date for you guys right now, but it was a long time ago. Yeah, November of 2004. So enough time has passed, and if this game comes out in 2024, you can talk about 20 years since the launch of the original MGS3. That makes all the sense in the world. It looks like there won't be PlayStation exclusivity tied to it. That makes all the sense in the world to me. Look, MGS has been a series that has been prevalent on all platforms. Hell, GameCube got the remake of Metal Gear Solid with Twin Snakes. Metal Gear Solid 5 was available on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 5, and then you're talking about Metal Gear Solid 4 as really the only game that's only been available on PlayStation platforms. MGS 1 got that remake, MGS 2 and 3 got the collection, Peace Walker was on PSP but was also a part of the collection. Probably forgetting about a couple Metal Gear games, but nevertheless, you know, the series has been prevalent on all platforms, and I'd love to see it just release on every platform, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Let everybody experience what a fantastic game MGS3 is. And how, right now, Xbox, I believe, is the only way outside of emulation that you can play the original MGS3 given with backwards compatibility. So there you go with that. Spider-Man 2, gonna be probably the game to close out the showcase. That is my expectation. That is really what you want to do. That closing game is gonna get a huge marketing and promotional jolt. So why would you give that to any game that's not gonna come in the foreseeable future? Why not save that for a future event where you can parlay that game's gameplay into, you know, the game releasing a few months after that? Well, Spider-Man 2 is gonna release a few months from now, probably sometime in September, and it's gonna finally get its gameplay reveal. You want to close out the show with that, and it was also noted that Spider-Man 2 will not be a co-op title. This was outlined by Insomniac, and they just noted it's an epic single-player adventure, so don't be expecting any cooperative gameplay, but there you go with that. Spider-Man 2 should still be a tremendous game, all things considered. Also, moving on from that, there is a brand new statement coming from Sony Group CFO Hiroki Totoki. Sony is aggressively pursuing entertainment mergers and acquisitions. Totoki did mention this, its financial services arm to boost investments in its entertainment businesses. Now, that extend beyond just PlayStation Studios, but you know, a PlayStation Studio acquisition makes all the sense in the world. The Square Enix acquisition has been a rumor that's been circulating for a long time, and I foresee that ultimately coming to fruition at some point, given that they're throwing so much money at Square Enix at this point in terms of exclusivity deals with like FF16, the FF7 remake, that at some point, you probably should just spend the money to acquire them if an acquisition offer is on the table. And based on what Square Enix has been doing the last couple of years, it looks like they might be open to being acquired, given that, you know, they've sold off some of their other studios. And right now, I think they would be a studio that Sony would be looking to acquire, but we'll see how that turns out. And it looks like they are still very much going to be in the acquisition business. Persona 6, this is a rumor that's going around, and these rumors of Persona 6's possible release window come from insider Nate the Hate's latest podcast. Nate the Hate, in addition to saying it wouldn't arrive until late next year, said that Atlas was originally planning to announce Persona 6 last year, but plans changed when it was believed the reveal would be too far away from the game's intended late 24 release window. There was also rumblings about a Persona 3 remake potentially happening at the Xbox showcase, so that doesn't make a lot of sense to me in the sense of there's rumblings that Persona 6 might be a timed PlayStation exclusive, but you're doing the Persona 3 remake reveal at the Xbox showcase. Ultimately, we'll have to see how all of that turns out and where exactly it is revealed. The Persona 3 remake seems like a slam dunk to happen after those leaked images, after the fact that you consider, you know, Persona 3 Portable randomly being the game that they decide to remaster and release on PlayStation 4, Xbox, and Nintendo. So it's just too much smoke to the fire on that one. But Persona 6, I'm very curious. And Persona is one of those franchises that sees very lengthy windows between one game and the next. So, you know, 7 years have passed since the release of Persona 5, if you can believe it. So Persona 6 at this point should be revealed here very soon. I do also want to note, there are reports going around that Deviation Games' PlayStation 5 exclusive has been canceled. This is coming from episode 255 of Colin Moriarty's Sacred Symbols podcast, that he first heard from a source about impending layoffs at Deviation Games weeks before they were confirmed, and the same source also told him the mystery PS5 game was canceled. That's such a bummer if that's the case, but you know, maybe don't expect Deviation's title. Outside of those reports, there's a lot of rumors circulating. The fact that on the PlayStation blog post the term spellbinding was used, a lot of people thought that that might point towards something like a Final Fantasy IX remake. There's rumblings of Firewalk potentially creating a Killzone title. We know Last of Us Part 2 Factions is probably going to be a big part of the event as well. That just makes all the sense in the world because we know that is pretty far along, and it will be the standalone Last of Us multiplayer experience. I expect some PC announcements, but I expect like a sizzle reel for that, nothing too major, and you know, hopefully some new IPs, and really setting the table for the next 12 to 18 months on PlayStation. What I hope not to see is games that are 2 to 3 years from now. Like, what is the point of that? And maybe, you know, an FF9 remake, why announce that if it's gonna be, you know, a 2025, 2026 game? But like, I really just want to see the table set for it the rest of this year and the end of next year, because let's be perfectly honest, outside of VR2, this year so far has been incredibly light in terms of big PlayStation releases. You had, you know, timed exclusives like Forspoken and Final Fantasy 16, but that's just, you know, these deals that they're acquiring for timed exclusivity. I get it that Sony has helped out with the development of FF16, it looks like, but you get the idea in terms of in-house Sony developed games. All we had was Horizon Burning Shores outside of the VR stuff. Hopefully Spider-Man 2 will be September. I would really like if we had one other big game that comes out by the end of the year. That could be a Last of Us Factions. I could see that coming out by the end of the year or entering some sort of beta period. I could see that happening, but it would be nice if we had another big single-player title. And I personally, selfishly, something related to preserving these PlayStation 3 games. If we can't get full-on backwards compatibility, if that's never going to happen, Can we get some collections of Infamous 1 and 2, the Ratchet and Clank future games, etc., etc.? MGS4, that's an option as well. But, yeah, I am really curious to hear what you guys think. There's a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation going around right now. You know, it's sometimes best to keep your expectations tempered. However, given the fact that Sony has been tight-lipped for so long, at this point, like, they have, you would think, a lot of things under their sleeves in terms of big reveals. You're talking about a show that's going to be, you know, over an hour at length, and that's a lot of time to showcase a lot of big titles. But that's going to do it for me. Let me know your expectations, your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.